97% of pump users have infusion failures, costing patients and our healthcare system over $700 million annually in hospitalization and wasted insulin costs. And hi, everyone. I'm John Wilcox. I'm the CEO of Diatech Diabetes, a company that is dedicated to improving the safety of insulin infusion. I want to start off by sharing a very common problem with insulin pumps, a popular medical device used by over 1.2 million people with diabetes. What you see here is an insulin pump infusion failure, which occurs as a leak or a block of the pump's inserted needle, resulting in inaccurate insulin dosing and dangerous glucose levels. In this case, this person's infusion failure sent them to the emergency room with life-threatening diabetes ketoacidosis, and they faced thousands of dollars in out-of-pocket costs. That person was me. I've had type 1 diabetes for 17 years, and I experienced infusion failure with my pump. Like me, 97% of pump users have infusion failures, costing patients and our healthcare system over $700 million annually in hospitalization and wasted insulin costs. The scary truth is that the majority are not alarmed by their pump when infusion failure occurs, and this leads to severe health consequences with their diabetes care. This is exactly why we are building SmartFusion, a software platform that detects infusion failures and provides data to help improve insulin pump use. SmartFusion exists as an algorithm and mobile app that connects to on-market insulin pumps, allowing patients to monitor their infusions in real time. If there is a failure, instant alerts can be sent to the patient or a caregiver to change the injection site. The data can also be uploaded to existing diabetes management apps and sent to healthcare providers for review of infusion therapy outcomes. Our feasibility testing has shown up to a 97% accuracy for detecting infusion failures with successful connectivity to different on-market insulin pumps. And SmartFusion is the first system built to alert of different failures that can go undetected by insulin pumps, all while providing data on infusion site health, the best locations for a person to inject on their body, and ultimately also when to change the infusion set to avoid infusion failure. Diatech's business model is direct B2B software licensing to insulin pump manufacturers to allow for their sale of SmartFusion with their pumps as a paired platform. And in turn, we generate revenue based on set royalty fees. SmartFusion improves the safety of the manufacturer's pumps, leading to better patient health outcomes with their technology. This generates additional revenue for the manufacturer in two ways. The first, through the acquisition of patients with infusion failure who switch from competitor pump platforms. And the second is the retention of current patients who would have previously stopped pump use due to infusion failure. Our primary target are these new manufacturers who are entering into the market, yet we foresee growth with established players, as well as potential application to other infusion device therapy platforms like oncology and immunotherapy pumps. Our team is made up of patient entrepreneurs who live with diabetes and have experience in medical device software, as well as clinical diabetes research. And we're super fortunate to be supported by leading diabetes institutions and are currently a part of the T1D Moonshot program here at StartUpHealth. And as a team, we've made significant progress with achieving milestones that include our closing of 2 partnerships for compatibility testing with potential licensing manufacturers, as well as establishing our FDA approval strategy, also obtaining our first patent, and also recently being funded by the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. We're now looking for committed investors to come in on our $3 million seed round to support our next 3 years to power our growth and first market entry by 2026. So I want to thank you so much for your time and your interest today. Please know that we are a driven team passionate about diabetes care, and we look forward to working with you to improve the quality of life for people with diabetes. Thank you.
John, great presentation. It occurs to me listening to you that one of the things we all talk about a lot here at StartUpHealth is the concept of problem, founder, fit. And you're like the epitome of this. Like, you have lived experience that drove you to want to make this innovation. That being said, there's a lot of insulin pumps out there. Can you help us quantify the size of this problem and how many incidents occur every year?
Yeah, that's a great question. We actually put out a study on this recently with Stanford this past year that looked at the incidence rates. I mentioned up to 97% of people with pumps experience infusion set failure, but this equates to about 250,000 injury and death reports within the FDA. So much so that insulin pumps have been listed as having one of the highest injury and death report rates within the FDA other than any other medical device. So this is a very serious problem. This doesn't just impact adults like me, but also newly diagnosed children with diabetes who are getting on insulin pumps after they're first diagnosed, as well as patients who are older who are using insulin pump therapy in their later stage of diabetes care.
What you just said was really important. Like, if this has become such an issue, why hasn't someone tackled this before?
Yeah, and this is such a great question. Manufacturers who we're looking to sell to directly have begun to see this as obviously a very serious problem, have developed out hardware solutions to try and reduce the incidence rate of infusion failures for their pump systems. However, clinicians, as well as the industry, can all agree that a device that's being worn 24/7 on the body can still fail despite the fact that there might be hardware modifications. So we're looking at this different approach of rather than modifying any hardware, just taking the data that we can achieve from systems themselves and developing out a software solution that is can be developed out for different insulin pumps on the market. The last thing I'll say about this is that the artificial pancreas or automated insulin delivery device, which is autonomous insulin delivery, allows for the connection of continuous glucose monitors to insulin pumps. Were first approved in 2016 and have now been growing since then. And infusion failure has become a very important topic for these devices since the fact that people with diabetes are doing hands-off insulin delivery and need now updated platforms to monitor their infusions.
So, John, one final question for you, which is, what have the reactions been to your product from real life patients who've, got real people using it? What's the feedback been?
It's been awesome. We've had such amazing feedback from people who say, finally, I can know if my insulin is actually going in me without having to wait to know if my blood glucose level is going to react. And diabetes is impacted by so many things. Glucose levels can be impacted by stress, hormonal, menstrual cycle, body weight. And so not knowing if you're getting your insulin could be based off of all those factors. Your insulin pump or device shouldn't be one of those. So this is precisely why we're building this device and the software to help people monitor their systems better.
So, John, just a broader question on the diabetes space from the audience. How do you see the emergence of GLP-1 drugs, semaglutide, et cetera, as it relates to the use of medical tech in diabetes?
Yeah, I think that this is very relevant for obviously type 2 diabetes cases who can be insulin dependent with insulin pumps and is a part of the market that we're targeting. However, primarily the majority of people that are using our devices are people with type 1 diabetes, which can only therapy is through manual insulin infusion. So this would be required potentially for these pumps that they would use. But it's great. These medication drug classes are awesome. They're doing great things, but they would not replace ultimately this type of infusion therapy for the majority of the people we'd be helping.